Hello, my name is Matthew Johnson, and I am an education specialist with the School Counseling Services Office. We are very excited to work with you this summer as we continue our work on academic habits. Up until now, you've probably done a lot of reading, but to clarify, we want to look at what are academic habits. These academic habits are based on the work by David Conley and the book that you read that focuses on the key learning skills and techniques that are part of the four pillars for college and career readiness. So, the academic habits are the observable strategies and behaviors employed by students in order to succeed in a learning environment. A lot of the reading prior to the Conley book was focused on the executive functioning skills. So the question is, how are these academic habits related to executive functioning skills? We think of academic habits as a manifestation of executive functioning skills. Executive functioning refers to how your brain is working and guiding you through these skills. Academic habits is the action and follow through upon this executive functioning process. Therefore, it's important to have the knowledge of EF skills as it is the foundation to these academic habits. Much of the work that we're going to do this summer will be based on our work on building these academic habits. For those that haven't had the experience of working on a summer curriculum writing project, the group will be broken up into two teams, each having their own lead writer. The lead writer for the red team is Dr. Josh Kiefer, school psychologist at South Lakes High School, and the lead writer for the blue team will be Tim McElroy, a resource teacher at Mountain View High School, and he will be leading the blue team as I mentioned already. Suzanne Sosa will be helping lead the project in my absence as I will be off-site much of the time. She is a phenomenal counselor at Orange Hunt Elementary School and well versed in executive functioning and academic habits. So the question is, what is the role of the lead writers? Our lead writers serve as a resource while the writing is taking place. The lead writers are individuals that have a really firm grasp on what these concepts are. They're there to help you with format, but also with generating ideas. They're also there to help keep the writing moving in the right direction. We want to make sure that we don't get so mired down in conversations that the writing then takes a back seat. So the lead writers will encourage you to have deeper conversations, but will also encourage you to move along to ensure that our lessons are completed in a timely fashion. Additionally, they will be the main reviewers that will provide feedback throughout the process. When you get to the end of a lesson, you will submit it to the lead writer who will then provide feedback. But throughout the process and along the way, they will be there to provide additional feedback and guidance. They will also work on the final formatting of the lesson. Suzanne and I will work to support the lead writers throughout the process. As I mentioned earlier, this summer we will be continuing much of the work that was started last summer. Last year, our team worked diligently to complete various lessons on academic habits. These lessons, and the ones we work on this summer, are written to be taught by classroom teachers and/or school counselors. The target audience for this lesson is the classroom setting. However, the lessons could be adapted to serve in a group counseling session and setting. If you look at the green squares, these are lessons that were already covered in previous years. The yellow squares are the lessons we will complete this summer. And lastly, the purple squares are lessons that we'll likely tackle next year. If you would like to take a look at previous lessons, I have shared them with you in the Google folder. So, the question is always, what would this look like? We will work in two teams, but we want to make sure that we are always working collaboratively. I have moved I have moved forward in splitting the group into two teams, the blue team and the red team. Each team will be assigned three academic skills habits. As we are focusing on middle and high school, one team will have an academic skill and will develop the lesson for the middle school level and then a lesson for the high school level. Therefore, a student who has a lesson on that skill in middle school can expect that it will not be the same lesson when they are in high school. Additionally, the high school lesson will add depth and complexity to lessons to ensure that they are developmentally appropriate. As we're looking to collaborate, please feel free to be creative in pulling in additional resources, making these lessons fun for students. We want to engage these students, whether through collaborative learning models or providing fantastic graphics. The lesson plans themselves are going to be used and kept in Google Docs. We like to use Google Docs so that you, the lead writer, Suzanne, and I can be looking at the lessons at the same time. We want to ensure that we're providing you with the feedback in real time. So here we have the red team. The red team is made up of Brig Carey, school counselor at Frost Middle School and former French teacher, Rebecca Izaldi, social studies teacher at Carson Middle School, Megan Gallivan, school counselor at South County Secondary School and a returning writer, and Michelle Weech, biology teacher at West Potomac High School. Again, this team will be led by Josh Kiefer. The blue team, led by Tim McElroy, consists of Gina Fajardo, school counselor at Carson Middle School, Sarah John Blanc, social studies teacher at South County Secondary School and also a returning writer, and Lisa Ingrassi Hakim, school counselor at Lee High School. And again, this team will be led by Tim McElroy. I worked to make sure that there was middle school and high school reputation on each team, as well as a teacher and counselor on each team to make for a diverse group coming with various experiences and expertise. The hope is that this leads to great conversations and lessons that have progression from topic to year to year. Additionally, we will have English language learning support during our curriculum writing project. Our ELL support will look at how we can possibly scaffold lessons for all ESOL level students. There has been additional resources and materials that have been added to the Google folder if you want to go ahead and take a look from last year. And also in the previous lessons from years past, you'll see the ELL scaffolding in the lesson plan and in the lessons folders as well. Okay, so let's talk about structure. Much like last year, we will continue to use the Learn formats for our classroom lessons. We want them to follow the same model because lessons written in this format are really truly engaging. Plus, this model links students to past experiences, which will already set up the engagement and interest of our students. This format provides the opportunity for students to really do some practice with their peers as opposed to the teacher or counselor standing in front of the classroom delivering content. With these lessons, there is a focus for the lesson to be very explicit and detail-oriented, since the idea is that these lessons are ready-made for teachers and counselors to jump right in and present. With the lessons, if you're going to use another source or if you're going to pull a picture from the internet, they must be cited. If you pull something, say an activity, and you want to use it, that's fine to a point. However, if you are pulling an activity that is word for word, then we need to get explicit permission from the author of those resources. If there isn't permission from the author, then that is something that we want to be able to include in our lessons. Finally, I want to reiterate that we are looking for the activities to be engaging. In the Learn model, we want the meat of the lesson and learning to take place in the active learning section. We are looking for the lessons where the students are engaged with each other in some form of structured learning activity to practice or go deeper in something they have already been taught within the engaged section. Before the lesson. Before the lesson, you will want to include the specific learning skill which the academic habit in the template provides. Also, you will want to make a connection to Fairfax County Public Schools Portrait of a Graduate and identify which attribute you are focusing on. If you have questions about which of the attributes of POG are the best match, you can rely on your lead writers to help assist with this. Materials. Please make sure to have a detailed list of materials, a very detailed list of materials, I should say. You want to include any links to videos in this section, including however many copies you're going to need, and etc. You want this section to be very detailed so that the teacher or counselor will know what they need to prepare prior to beginning their lesson. If you have materials that enhance the lesson but are not necessarily required, please add those and put an asterisk next to these materials. So I've mentioned detailed a few times now, and as you can see in this slide, you will need to provide the details of each lesson. Anything that the instructor is saying should be bolded so that we can differentiate for the instructor when they are supposed to speak. Any directions that the instructor should be following but they are not speaking should be italicized. Please add the slide numbers throughout as shown in this picture. The assess sections. You will see multiple assess sections throughout. Assessment is really ongoing throughout the lessons. When the lesson is being delivered by the teacher or counselor, the assess section will provide them with examples of look-fors to ensure that their students are following and understanding the lesson. You are giving the instructor questions that they should consider, but you're also providing them with the ideas of what they should hear from their students. Link. The link section should be short. I would say anywhere between 5 to 7 minutes at most. You're really trying to get the students' brains firing and getting the students to think back about a previous lesson or experience. You're trying to get them focused on previous academic experience, but you won't be introducing new content in this section. Sometimes teams spend a lot of time trying to come up with a fantastic link, but again, if you think about the purpose, the link is simply setting the stage for what's to come. engage. This is where you want to start to present new material to students, and you want to sort of already have an expectation of what you want the students to learn and to know by the time you complete this lesson. So you start to look at what do you want them to know as a result of your lesson, and that's where you're going to kind of see in this engage section. This section could be a little bit. This could be a little bit longer, say 10 to 15 minutes, and you can provide direct instruction in this section through a mini presentation, for example. However, you're still going to want to think of ways that the students can engage in that learning. So even if it's a turn and talk to do a quick reflection, you want to find ways that the students are engaged and kind of driving this. This section should not be the longest section of your lesson. That should be your active learning section. This should be the longest section and the section that takes up the most time and is the most engaging and student led. This is where students are going to engage in the learning of the content and really go deeper into the content introduced in the engage section. In this section, we want to make sure we have some sort of collaborative learning throughout this section. You can find those from a variety of places and modify them, for example, an activity that you have used in the past that would need to be modified to fit this lesson. So think of different activities that you've used and you can incorporate those into this section. We really want the instructor to be monitoring the activity. This should be the place where the instructor is the guide on the side, not the one delivering the instruction. Also, we want students to really make meaning of the content themselves. How do we make it so that these students can take this information and apply it within their own specific context? Whether that context is the classroom, school, as a general overall school community experience, or at home, the more we can draw on that connection, the more likely it is that these students will retain the information learned and actually apply it. Therefore, it is essential that we provide them the opportunity to truly engage in the learning here. Reflect. In the reflection section, you want the students to summarize some of the larger points, but you also want them to begin to think about how they can keep practicing what was learned in the future. How are they going to take what was learned in this lesson and apply it within their lives? Finally, now and then. Very briefly, this is going to set the stage going forward. This is where the students answer the question, now what? What does this mean going forward? This is where the instructor can discuss future applications. The section doesn't have to be lengthy or complicated. It may be a place where a turn and talk is appropriate, for example. We talked earlier about our eCart specialist and how she will be joining us on our first day to kind of help support us and go over some of the FCPS copyright guidelines. Again, she'll be present our first day together on July 18th, and she'll be assisting us throughout the project to ensure that we are in compliance. Anywhere you are citing something, you need to jot it down. This includes images as well. Even images that are pulled from public domains. For example, when you're working in Google Slides and you want to upload an image, Google will often pull from public sites. This would need to be cited as well. We will go further into detail on our first day together. Resources. In the Google folder, there you'll find the Learn Model resources, English language learning resources, and previous lessons from years past. You also have your leads, the team that you're working with as well, because there's such a large working knowledge and experience within your team. You have your two leads, you have Suzanne, you have myself. Just we again, going back to that collaborative working model, we want to be able to rely on each other as well as the readings, and then also refer back to the resources that were provided in the Google folder. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to your fellow writers, your leads, Suzanne, myself, and also reference back to the readings that were done before and the materials in the Google folder. Our first meeting will take place on July 18th. We'll be working for 2 weeks, Monday through Thursday, and the following Monday through Thursday as well. At our first meeting, please make sure to bring a fully charged laptop and power cord to the meeting. I have shared the Google folders with you, so you can access those if you want to look at previous lessons. Again, I mentioned this before, but also the Learn model is in there as well. Please feel free to bring any additional resources. I do ask that you bring the Conley textbooks with you to the first meeting, and you may want to continue to bring it throughout to continue to reference throughout our work session. We'll have some snack items there during our first meeting, and then we'll talk about how we want to divvy that up and those responsibilities over the course of our 2 weeks together. I want to thank you again for your time that was spent on reviewing this PowerPoint as well as reviewing the materials and completing the readings. I look forward to working with you this summer. I'm excited about the team and getting to meet some of the team members, as well as seeing some of the team members I've met before and worked with before again. I want to thank you again, and if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to contact me. My email address is majohnson, the number 4, at fcps.edu. Thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.